Hello there, it's Dr. Vidya here, and welcome to today's webinar, which is Phoenix Rebirth, the base layers of healing, wealth, and leadership. And this is for you, whatever industry you're working in, whether your wealth creation is as a homemaker, for your career, in your business, or like me, doing all three. And this is really for you if you are really wanting to look at mastery of yourself, for your family, for your service, or you want to launch one and create one. And you really want to ensure that your health, your wealth, and your love life, your relationships, healthy, loving, happy relationships around you are all balanced, right, as you achieve ultimate success. And we're really going to be looking at what is your definition of success, that it is not always about pushing harder. I'm not saying that work is not involved, okay, but just hard work is not the answer, okay? And it is definitely about how to create the life that you want. There is work involved, but it is not about pushing harder, okay? So whilst you listen to me, so my name is Dr. Vidya. I am a medical doctor. I'm also a TED speaker, a Forbes featured leadership coach. I'm also a wife, and have two cute little boys, age 6 and 8. And I am really all for, ambition, but I'm also very passionate about mental health, okay? So deep emotional healing alongside our physical health with movement. Being deeply spiritual, this is all interfaith, okay? So whatever that means for you, whether that's the universe, whether that's universal force, whether that's a particular faith you believe in, but for me, it is very much around putting faith over fear. This is about saying no to any doubts. This is about really leading from within with conviction and courage, right? So that you can really fulfill your divine life purpose. And this is going to be when, yes, you are sometimes going to be met with resistance, okay? Because that is true leadership when you are overcoming any resistance. And this is not about aggression. It does take courage, but this is really about leading ultimately yourself, and therefore also leading your family, or co-leading, as well as mastery, okay? So for your service, whatever that looks like for you. If you don't have a service and you want to set one up, or you want to start your own business, you're in the right place. If you don't have a business and you want to do it purely through your own career, that is awesome too. I would strongly personally advise both, not just from a wealth perspective and safety, but just multiple sources of creativity, multiple sources of service that you are providing to the world as your personal service, as you, right? Nobody can do you, right? It's like how I'm a GP, I'm a consultant, family physician. There are hundreds of thousands of GPs around the world, consultant family physicians, but nobody does it like me, right? And I can't do it like somebody else. So really being your unique divine self and then mastering that. Okay, and then how does that look from a wealth creation perspective? How does that look whilst you're also leading your family? Like, what exactly does that look like? And that's what we're going to be looking at today. So, I also lead a very powerful movement called Wealthy Warrior Leaders. And at any time, if you are wanting to have a one-to-one consultation with me, or you'd like further information about any of my coaching packages, just comment down below or send me a private message wherever you're watching this with the word mentor, MENTOR, and we can chat on there in the DMs and I'll be in charge, okay? Now I've got my notes here as well, so excuse me as I have a look at those as well, because I really have prepared for this to ensure that it is the best based upon my own experience and the best service that I can personally provide for you as well. Okay, and you can absolutely do this, by the way, if you're working a 9 to 5, 9 to 6, whatever the hours are you're working. I mean that colloquially, but whether you're doing this or not, or whatever it is that you're doing, you can absolutely do this. You can absolutely create the life that you want. You can absolutely start that business. You can absolutely lead your family through a challenging situation. You can absolutely do it, but it takes, the leadership energy has to come from you, and that starts from within. Okay, there are going to be so many strategies. We're going to talk through that as well. That's obviously, deeper actually in my membership, Legacy Leader Circle. and other programs I have. But yes, there are lots of strategies, but ultimately you have to have belief in yourself. You have to have belief that you can do it. This is bigger than motivation, okay? This is deep inner wisdom that it is coming from within. You have to put on something so deep, okay? And that is how you phoenix rise. That's why I've named this the Phoenix Rebirth. And it's those base layers. We can talk about mindset and manifestation, and I do practice that as well, okay? But ultimately, you cannot outdo, even however much mindset work you do and manifestations, etc., you cannot outdo unhealed belief patterns that you have. You cannot outdo, if you're having extremely negative thoughts, you need healing for that, okay? Now, obviously, see a doctor or see a therapist if you want to do that type of mental health work. For here, I'm doing this purely with my coaching hat, okay? But obviously, I'm going to be picking upon my wisdom from throughout the years as well, okay? So, most people think, as I said, healing, wealth creation, leadership, even in family life, that it really comes from, pushing really, really, really hard. But actually, the thing is that it really comes from a new operating system. Okay, so what do I mean by that? You are going to be literally transforming who you are. You're beautiful as you are right now, okay? But the version of you that has the life that you are desiring has gratitude actually for where you are right here, right now, even if it's super challenging, because that is causing you to really pull on something deep within you in order to move forward, and whilst also having gratitude for where you are going in the future as well, okay? So that version of you is thinking different thoughts. They're having predominantly different feelings. Now, all emotions are normal, okay? Anxiety is normal, anger is normal, frustration is normal, so it's happiness, gratitude. I'm not saying toxic positivity, like happy-go-lucky. I mean, I think, a happy-go-lucky person, but it's not toxic positivity where you ignore everything, no. But you have a choice many times, as I tell my kids. Do you want to water the weeds, which is something you have no control over, lots of negativity and lots of problems, or do you want to water the roses, which is a solution, a strategy that you have chosen when there are thousands of strategies and they probably all work, okay? That you've chosen the one that is bespoke to you, that feels right for you, and ultimately you're watering it, one, in terms of, yes, you've got to put the reps in and you've actually got to do the work, okay? But secondly, you have to have belief in yourself, not just in the strategy, but belief in you actually doing the strategy. Not that, oh, well, this can probably work for everybody else, but not for me, right? So there's very important that you believe in the strategy, you believe in yourself doing the strategy, as well as then you're actually then putting in the work from that frequency, okay? From that point. Because you can put in all the reps that you want, okay? But if you're not actually believing yourself, it's a bit like with the exercise. You can do all the reps that you want, in the gym, but ultimately you still need good nutrition. Okay, you can have low calories, and yes, you might lose weight if that's your goal, but ultimately it won't be sustainable, and it's actually not great health. So it's not something, you're not building real health, it's just aesthetics. But what we're talking about here is real health, real great health, real wealth, and real leadership. That is a legacy in itself, aside from the generational healing, the generational wealth that you're creating, and also the generational leadership coming from within, because then you can literally go anywhere. Anything could be happening and you will know that you and your family are good. And that's not just wealth, right? It is any challenging situation that you're in. And I'm talking having come from being in like tsunamis in Sri Lanka and, earthquakes and various other traumas, when we've had been in hospital, etc. So it really comes from within. And yes, you can also build, real incredible wealth, and you can rise through any of those challenges with yourself, with your family, with the right values. This is coming from your internal warrior compass of values, and maybe even writing down, like, what are those values for you, right? What are those values? Because they may well have changed, or you may well have found that certain values have really carried you throughout, and there are other ones you're going to have to just let go of now. It looks different now, maybe that you're a parent. You're not letting go of anything, you're refining, and actually it's better. Right, it's actually much better because you're creating a life of balance, and you might need to have a look at through experience what that means for you. Okay, just 1 second, just get my notes here. So this is really for you if you are feeling anxious, like you're maybe falling behind, or there's more that you feel you need to be doing. You want confidence and clarity, but you are kind of feeling just emotionally just very overloaded. And you don't want to do moral injury. You want to really act in integrity in accordance to your values. That's really important. So what I want you to really focus now is write down, and let me know if you need the workbook, by the way. Just send me a message with the word workbook, or send me an email. But I want you to go to your workbook and really write in, what is your definition of success? Or maybe you want to change the word to happiness or fulfillment. What is that? And I want you to put the 3 columns. There's health, the finances, so wealth creation, and your relationships. And within that is your relationship with yourself, so how you feel about yourself, your relationship with your family, okay, and your colleagues, those that you're serving alongside or that you're leading, your service users. And then in the wealth column, we also have your service. So your service, if as an employee, that is your service. That is you specifically providing whatever the service is you're providing in your business, your service. Even if it's a product, you're still providing a service, right? That's why we call it customer service. Okay, and for me, I do both, right? As a doctor, as an appraiser, as an educator, as an examiner for medical schools, and also in my business, in my leadership coaching business, okay? So I'm also looking at the service that I'm providing. And the beauty is many of those services don't have to be provided necessarily through me as a doctor. I also have books, I have my YouTube channel, I have webinars like this, I have courses. So people come and receive service, for me through many different mediums, which is also great from a wealth perspective in terms of multiple sources of wealth, right? So my books through Amazon, my courses, my YouTube channel, my speaking, my keynote speaker opportunities, all of these are paid. Some are charity, which then you receive wealth in a different way. And what do I mean by that? I mean, you may receive the wealth back in terms of peace of mind, in terms of your integrity and your moral values, that this feels really good to do that in terms of charity. You might receive wealth in terms of, for the last keynote speech I did, I'm really happy I'm able to have my husband was there, my parents were there, my kids were there, and that was something that was really, really, really close to my heart, because I didn't want to be doing it without them there. So I really kind of waited, I guess, for a long time for the opportunity whilst not giving up on it. So that is one of my definitions, okay? It doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be yours, right? We're not copying here. You have to go in, you have to go within. And that the beauty with this is then, when it is your internal compass of values, this is using one of your mental faculties called intuition, right? So when you know that something is like, yes, I'm on the right path with this, and you don't have evidence yet, it's not tangible, right? You can't see it, you can't feel it, but you have that feeling. That is your intuition. Some people call it gut instinct, but that is your intuition telling you, like, yes, this is the thing to go for. This feels right, this feels good. And equally, if it doesn't sit in alignment with your values, then your intuition is also saying, your intuition or your divine wisdom, or both, however you want to look at it, your intuition is then telling you, like, no, this does not feel good, this does not feel right. Okay, so that is also your compass. You're reading your body like a body scan, and you're understanding what it means. It's really important to do meditation work, journal work, which is what you're doing with the workbook. It's like a little taste. But with that, you're really going deep within and looking at everything that you're doing, and you're reflecting. Okay, you're reflecting, but you need to know, what is your goal. Okay, so for example, with wealth creation, what is it you're earning now, or you're receiving in terms of wealth now, and what is it that you are aiming for? What is it that you would like, whether it's 5 figures, 6 figures, 7 figures, or whatever it is. Be very specific with the amount and why. Okay, what is your why? Meaning, is it to pay off the mortgage on the house? Is it to pay your kids' tuition fees in lump sum or whatever it is? Is it to go on holidays? Is it to go first class? And why? Why do you want to go? Like, keep asking yourself why, not just because of how it looks or other people do that. That's not good enough. Okay, you need to know why. Is it because we love having these beautiful experiences? We love to have these experiences. Maybe it wasn't able to do it as much when I was younger, or we did, but it came at a cost, or just whatever it is. I really want to help serve in this specific way, because it's something that I would have loved to have had like 5 years ago when I was starting my journey with this, or 10 years ago, whatever it is. So what is your why? But really go 7 levels deep with it, which means you ask yourself why 7 times. You can obviously do more or less, but the principle here is really go deep, because then right, when I'm doing this webinar for you, is tied to my why. It's not just a wealth creation goal. Like, yes, I have that goal, but why, right? Why not do it through stocks and shares? Why not do it through doing extra locums? Why not do it through so many other ways of working, right? Because I have this burning desire within me, right, to to continue to help, and to help even more tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people with their healing, with their wealth creation and their leadership, for themselves and their families and their service, and with their health, wealth, and relationships all in balance, right? Because I see so many patients and so many clients really struggling, whether it's with their health, but they have the wealth and the family life, or they have the family life and great health, but they don't have the wealth, or there is struggles, and we can have it all. That might look different for each person, but ultimately it's really going within and mastering that. And yes, it's a journey, okay? And we have a community to help support with that as well, okay? So really what I'm trying to highlight here is about regulating yourself first, and then you execute. But when you're executing, you are visualizing with a meditation that version of you that is living that life right now, what thoughts they're thinking, what are they feeling, what's like the predominant emotion. They're going to be feeling all the same emotions, but what is the predominant emotion of peace? Why? What is the peace? Okay. And if it's around, because the finances are all fine. Okay, what is that number then? So right? You also know when to say no to things, that this is not in alignment with my values, or it is in alignment with my values, but I'm good with what I'm doing, right? Because we also want to have, when you've made a decision on your goal, when you then made a decision on, remember, there are loads of strategies, but you pick one, basically you pick one that feels right for you. And then you got to put the reps in, right? Every day, or majority of the time. You've got to see it as like exercise. Getting in, for example, your 10K steps and your movement and your strength training and flexibility. It's not like, well, I'll just do it like once a month and I'm going to go hard that day and then that's it. No, it's something that's got to be done consistently on a frequent basis. But it's not just a strategy, right? It's when you do it with that full belief and it feels good, right? That is a very different outcome. That makes it sustainable. You are changing as a person. You're embodying a different identity. This is a new operating reality for that version of you. And you have to do it in the present tense. So I'm so happy and grateful now that I am earning in excess of, I'm just, giving an example, 10K months. I am fit, strong, toned, and we're not tying ourselves to, worrying about what the scales say in terms of weight, but focusing on health. But what does that mean? For me, with great health, when I'm fit and I'm toned and I'm flexible and I'm full of energy and I'm feeling peace of mind, what does that look like for me? And yes, then looking at the healthy BMI number and all of that. So that's the way you're going to find your strategy. And then same with your family, like what does that mean for you? For me, I love doing art with my kids. I also like doing their studies. I like doing it together. I like everyone to doing it peace and calm, but ideally I want them to learn to do that in a self-directed way. It's not like me dragging them around to all these activities. Again, for them, their learning is going to come from within, right? So that's how I want to be doing it. I'm enjoying doing art with them and doing our yoga club and exercise club and all of that, to enjoy that, right? So that's why I want to be able to do, for example, these webinars in my lunch breaks in between my clinics, because that way I'm able to then generate wealth in a different way. That means I can spend more time, right, with my kids than working long extra clinics or late into the night. And some people don't want that, and that is completely fine, right? So there's no right wrong here. This is your, don't compare, this is your journey, okay, as a wealthy warrior legacy leader. And it's really important you really understand yourself, okay? Ultimately, that is what it is. I teach the principles, and then you mold it according to your own journey. And then I have different access points, different levels of access. So depending on if you would like to have mentorship to help you with that, and different depths of mentorship for that. But these are all different layers of leadership. Okay, so the first layer is healing. That's deep emotional healing, which is all about regulation, emotional mastery, and identity safety. So you feel safe in that identity. And what is that identity? What are your thoughts? What are you thinking? So you're not just, pushing through an exercise session when it doesn't feel right, because when you're doing it, where I'm doing this in terms of my best health, you're understanding, what is it? Is this a mind thing that I need to focus on in terms of my thoughts? Or is this more like, actually, I think my body just needs a little bit more rest today? So you're really leaning within, and then you understand the difference between procrastination and actually, no, I can see that this is, as my mentor Bob Proctor, taught me, the terror barrier, meaning something like terror, or sometimes it can be, but it's very much more in terms of, okay, this is where I used to be, this is my thoughts used to be, and now I'm elevating in terms of my consciousness, my thoughts to this level. This version of me that maybe, for example, just does the exercise and goes through it and is having fun and enjoying it, even if it's like really tough, like lifting weights, etc. I'm just giving an example there, that analogy. And there's a version that just gives up. There's a version that maybe understands what's happening with the body, and that's not pushing through, that's different. And instead is using maybe affirmations, for example, like, no, I can see that this is growth, this is me growing as a person, and that's why I'm maybe feeling a bit tired. Or yes, I am growing as a person and I'm feeling tired, and I'm going to make sure I get really good sleep, because I'm doing great work for myself here as a leader of myself and of my family, my service. I'm building up capacity, I'm building up energy. That's what's happening here. So you see, when you do personal development, you really understand yourself, and really understand also what's happening in terms of creating the life that you want, to moving forward with your goals. And you also, it is not always a good idea to be pursuing your goal at all costs, because you don't want to be doing it at the cost of, say, your family or your health or your service or whatever it is. We want everything to be balanced. So we need to really lean into our intuition and understand what's happening. And often leadership calls for flexibility around navigating around certain perceived obstacles, right? So that's how do you do that? You regulate your emotions first so that you are calm, and then you're able to get clarity. So first you get calm by meditation, breath work, going for a walk. You could, even if it's 5 minutes, or just taking some deep breaths and centering, right? Centering yourself. You can even imagine like a little bullseye, and I'm centering myself. Okay, what is the focus here, right? And when you do this every single day, like a little mini movie, that version of you with all the thoughts and the feelings and everything you're doing, it becomes so easy. It becomes a new reset point, okay? I want you to imagine like a thermostat, okay? So imagine it's really hot in this room, and somebody and the thermostat is set at a specific temperature. Okay, so let's say now somebody opens a window. So what's going to happen? The temperature in the room is going to drop. So obviously the heating is going to kick in, and it's going to elevate the temperature in the room. So that is our thermostat. That means that is our thought patterns currently. Okay, and some of these thoughts may not even be yours. They may come from your parents, your grandparents, your spouse, your kids even. It might come from a certain experience in your life, certain dark times in your life that maybe you kind of took on, maybe like a survival mentality. I've certainly had that, and it really helped you actually at that time. And maybe now this new identity is within you is calling for, like, it's okay to drop the survival mindset, and you can still be ambitious and have great results. And yes, there's still work involved, but we're doing it in a different way, right? And you can have gratitude for knowing you've got that ability to go into that survival mindset if you want. But this is building upon that. So when the temperature rises up again to meet that thermostat, that's like our results. Imagine somebody wants to lose weight, okay? Not that everything's about losing weight, okay? So it's about healthy BMI. But let's say they want to lose weight, just for the sake of this analogy. They want to lose weight. Remember, we talked about everything. They've got to think about why. It's not just about numbers, but why, in terms of health, fitness, flexibility. It's not just about clothes and aesthetics, but obviously that's a byproduct. How much they can do with their kids, increased capacity to achieve more of their goals. All of the whys that are so beautiful. Really looking at how different their life would be if they achieve that goal and when they do, okay? Because that will also make a difference between their strategy. For example, I'm on a weight releasing journey, and I've specifically chosen a way of eating which is very much including carbohydrates. I think carbs are good, but the old me would definitely not have been doing that. But this version of me is, Mum, I need my carbs, I need my sleep, and I need emotional regulation, and I want to also embody that as well, okay, to my kids. So and seeing food as fuel, right? It's not just like calories. So can you see the difference in mindset there? One's very much more holistic, but on the outside, it might not look very different. It might just look like, foods that I'm eating, and that I'm doing my training, my weights, and I'm doing my yoga, and I'm doing my 10K steps, and I'm doing my dancing, and all of that stuff. Sometimes the actions don't look much different, but the way in which I'm doing it, the attitude behind it, the energy, the faith, the belief, the embodiment, this is really changing in terms of a completely different frequency in the way in which I'm doing things, okay? Imagine like listening to a different radio station. It's completely different lyrics, different music, different genre. It's like a whole different experience, right? But it's still a radio station playing music, right? So think of it like that. So what will happen is, imagine this person's losing weight and they're not doing any of the mindset work. They're just like, oh, good exercise. Oh, we don't want to do this. Okay, fine, I'll do it. And then what happens? They see a piece of cake and then they go and eat the cake. Okay, because why? Because they're not embodying everything, even though they might have lost loads of weight and got some good results. So that's a bit like opening the window. It's like, oh, we've got results. Something's changed, basically. What does the mind do? It, like raising the heat again to go back to that thermostat, that person eventually ends up putting on the weight, okay? Or someone who's made loads of money in their business or in their work, they will eventually lose that money to go back to that set point, that thermostat point. A child who's doing really well in their studies, who's not doing any mindset work, it's purely all based on grades. That is it, a percentage, and that's all they see it at, or they're being trained to see it as. Eventually the grade will go back down to meet really their level of belief in themselves, okay? Because it's not being embodied, it's just purely grades. So what we want to do is raise the belief, raise the set point to that version of you. It's still you, but who is having different beliefs, different thoughts, predominantly in that emotion of belief, which is peace, because that is faith in yourself, okay, and the divine. That is peace, that is being calm, because it is trust as well. Yes, you still have to put the work in. You still got to do the exercise. The child's still got to do the work. The business owner still has to do it. The doctor still has to see the patients, right? As a mum, still, or as a parent, still making sure that, food, dinner's all ready and everything, etc. Or somebody else is doing it for you, whatever your definition is. So you still have to do the things, but it's the way in which you do it. That's the difference, because that makes it sustainable. It makes it more consistent, and therefore actually going to achieve the goal. Sometimes achievement of the goal is going to be a bit wiggly woggly, but you still get there. Okay. And it's very different when you do it with belief, because that is permanent. That is definitely permanent. So that's layer 2, which is really all about leadership, self-mastery. Okay. You're leading yourself. So you see, for example, a child can get great results in their studies if someone really pushes them, right? But as soon as you release the pressure, they will just, if they're just going to go and they just want to watch TV or they don't want to do it, ultimately they're learning they need pressure in order to achieve that result. And that actually sometimes does work up until a certain point. But then what happens is you start to see, as I am as a doctor, many people who are top partners and top firms, etc., top doctors, top surgeons, top in their career basically, but they've always learned it from a point of pressure. And now maybe they have their family, now it's affecting their family, or maybe it's affecting their health, or their kids are learning the same things and it's a different world now. They're realizing that, okay, this is actually not okay to just be learning from pressure. It's not sustainable. But when you learn to still take action, but from a point of embodiment, like I genuinely enjoy making reels, not just as content, but just as this is my service, which is free, which is also helping to educate, and it's healing, and I enjoy it. It's an expression of me. It's for my sacral chakra. It's just me expressing myself, right? So something maybe I've learned that I want to teach others, and I'm also, when I see my reel, I'm also teaching me, right? It's very cathartic and healing for me. When I'm writing like my Substack essays, subscribe to my Substack, by the way. That's all my thought leadership is there. But you know, if people want to deep dive into my reading, or they want to read my books, or whatever it is, like, it's not just like, you know, how do I make money? It's also like, this is my way. It feels so good. I really enjoy it. And I also like consuming my own content too. It feels good. It's like, oh, I created this. This feels really good. So that is leading yourself, and you're really following your passion. But yes, there is work involved as well, in terms of how do I monetize this, or you know, as a doctor, how do I make sure that I'm being safe with my patients and I'm also being efficient? So there is work involved, but it's very different. Say, for example, with my kids who are doing their studies, when we are learning over time that it is coming from within, it is self-sufficient. Why do you want to do this? Okay, you want to be a zookeeper, you want to go to, you know, what's the pathway? How do you want to do this? You want to be like David Attenborough. Okay, well, let's listen to him, and we're listening and we're studying, and what was their pathway, and that might not be the best for you, but let's have a look. You know, that's looking at mentorship and coaching, and what kind of studies, you know, to do. So all of these things. And then also, yes, but now my sons have started writing books. They're published authors now, which is wonderful. So yeah, writing books and looking at, okay, you can write your books. This is also looking at it from a business point of view and monetization. What's the life you want to have? Not what I want to tell you as your mom, but like, what do you want? What's your dreams? And then, you know, I'm here to help you, to support you and believe in you whilst you're building that belief for yourself, right? And then the third layer is wealth, which is kind of what we're talking about now. So it's aligned wealth, right? So not just kind of like, okay, child, for example, this is the only way you can achieve wealth. You've got to do it this way, and that's it. Because that's actually based upon my beliefs, right? Which might even come from my heritage. But instead, if I focus on what is the goal that they want to achieve and the lifestyle that they want, and okay, how much does that cost, and etc. And that might change in the future, but right now this is, you know, we need a target, something to work towards. And then looking at the thoughts, the feelings, the embodiment, again, the why. Like, why do you want to do this so much? Like, why? What is the why? And because that's what's going to pull you in those times when you really are a bit like, I really just don't want to do this maths right now. But actually, this will help you to achieve your goal. And why? Right? So when I'm learning about funnels, or I'm learning about how to do a webinar, or I'm learning about how to create reels, or how do I set up a membership, or whatever it is, that learning, I'm applying it to my career, my business career, and how I can help many, many, many people with their healing and their wealth creation, their leadership, things that I wish I had known before, and how I really want to be able to create and provide an incredible service. So there is going to be some learning there. That sometimes it can be like, oh, you know, it's all tech, you know, and learning that part of it. But I'm doing it because this is tied to this, right? And although I can just hire somebody to just do that, I also want to understand it for me. I see this as like, this is part of my mastery. I don't need to master everything, right? Like, for example, I have an accountant, but I still want to understand the numbers behind it, right? And I want to understand why we're doing certain things in a certain way. That's part of me as a CEO of my life, CEO of my business, and of, you know, as a leader in my family, right? To understand. You can still delegate it out and look at all of that, but you're still having that understanding as well. You know, it's important. So what I want you to then also have a look at is really focus on your career or your business, or however it is, whatever it is, as your service to the world, right? And really hone in the embodiment of that and enjoying that, and ensuring it is always balanced. So for example, this morning when I woke up early, I did my strength training, I did my prayers, I did my meditation. So I'm like aligned, fixed into my goal, okay? This is a card I've written to myself, okay? Oh, and I strongly advise you do it as well, where I've written out my goal. I've written out my goal in the present tense. I'm so happy and grateful now and then whatever your goal is. Remember, it has to cover health, has to cover wealth with a specific income goal. And for me, I've also put down how many clients or members or patients or whatever it is. So it's income, but it's also impact. Income, impact. Okay. And also then looking at my health, my emotional health, so how I'm feeling, predominantly in peace and joy. My movement, right, in terms of my physical body, flexible, full of energy, right? So does that mean I'm going to be staying up all night, getting 3 hours sleep, doing something? Probably not. Okay. And then my leadership as well, and my family, my relationships. So it's all balanced, it's all tied together. So then I also understand that this is sometimes I've got to be patient, right? Because I'm bringing along the family, the wealth, I'm, in my career, which I'm enjoying, my leadership. So it may feel snail's pace in certain things, but that's because it's balanced. That's really important to remember, because you can, ironically, slower and calmer is ironically faster, because you have, it's less like snakes and ladders, right? It's much more calm, you're grounded, and you're it's like driving slowly, and you actually steadily get there, like the tortoise and the hare, right? You actually achieve it, you get to the race, you're not burnt out, you're not stressed, you have your health, you have your family, you have your marriage, you have your leadership, and most of all, it starts from within you, right? Within you. So if you want a goal card as well, I can send that to you, and you can fill it in and laminate it, or like this, you can just buy yourself a well done card. And I'm just saying, I'm so proud of you, and there's a few things that I've written here that helped me. So there's times when I've had some real, dark moments, and all so close to giving up, or like, what's the point? And then for me, the things that got me through that for me was my faith, but in particular was faith in me, the belief in me, faith in my chosen strategy, and then just faith in this being like my purpose, like why I'm here to do this. Okay. Do not give in to fear. So do not give in to fear. Do not let fear win. If anything, can be grateful for it, because it's showing any insecurities I need to work on. Then that's a meditation I'm going to do. Okay, fine. I do Kundalini yoga, so maybe that's a yoga I'll do that aligns to that. And if there's anything else I need to do in order to make my purpose much more well-grounded, then I'll do it. And then finally, just do it. So sometimes it's all... Hi there, sorry, got a little bit cut off there. But what I wanted to essentially say towards the end was to really ensure that you have a goal card, something you can look at every day. And then from that, you make a sort of mini movie that you can record on the voice notes of your phone. I find is the best. What you want, what I find, is something which is easily accessible, something I have with me all the time, no matter where I am, which for me is my phone, and usually my kids as well. And that way, there's no excuses for me to do it. And when I say no excuses, I don't mean this with like hustle grind mentality. I do mean it with self-love, meaning, yeah, you can do this, and you're just going to listen to a voice memo in your own voice, which is the most powerful voice to listen to, okay? Add the divine within you. And it can literally be for 30 seconds, a couple of minutes. And this is some people call it scripting, but you're really imagining a day in their life. How do you feel, and what is it that you're doing? And ideally, even in the own clothes that you're wearing right now, like it's not something, it shouldn't feel really far away, and you're really focusing on the embodiment of it. So for example, I'm so happy and grateful now that I am earning in excess of 6 figures in my healing and leadership business, and I'm really enjoying serving hundreds of clients from around the world, and have resigned from my 9-to-5 job, depending on what you want, enjoying more time, quality time with my loving relationships that I'm surrounded by, starting within me, and am a #1 best-selling author, full stop. Okay, now that was my goal many years ago, and I'm grateful to say now I've achieved it. And I actually really enjoy being a doctor, so I don't want to quit my 9-to-5, but I found a really enjoyable role I absolutely love doing. So I'm really enjoying where I'm at now. So now that I've achieved that goal, but that was my kind of mini life movie script. It was just sort of, even 30 seconds for a long time that I would just listen to in those moments of, disbelief or just tiredness, and knowing that, no, this is what I really want. This is what I'm working towards. And I am that now. She's within me. It's not some faraway goal. And also what I forgot to also mention was that I was doing it being calm, I'm having fun, I'm enjoying myself, I'm fit, I'm strong, I'm toned, I'm healthy, living a long, happy, healthy life. So it's really bringing in the three different aspects of life, the three core pillars of health, wealth, and love, okay? And it's all starting from within yourself first, okay? It's not selfish, it's self-full. You're leading by example to your family and to those that you serve, and you deserve this, right? You deserve this. And if you feel that you don't, then that's the work to focus on first, right? Self-worth, self-love. So, and self-love with where you are right here, right now, okay? So you have all the love, the respect, wealth, everything you desire is actually within you right now. And your job, your title, this income, relationships, you know, all of these things are just an expression of this self-love. But you have that within you now, right? You don't need to prove yourself. We're not looking to people please and validate here. Instead, we're really looking to focus on our divine life purpose. And what does that mean for us? It's going to be different for everybody. And we're focusing on income. Why? Because it's not the piece of paper, it's not the money, it's the freedom it gives us. It's more time, you know, for me with my kids and to see my parents, and more time doing stuff, other things I love doing. Like I love seeing patients, I love being a doctor, but I also enjoy painting. I love writing books. I love the books that I'm writing with my kids and more time with that as well. I love spending lots and lots of time with them in the holidays as well. So all of these things are part of my own goals that I'm working on too. And I'm also striving and taking action towards, but doing it in a balanced way, right? Like, yes, did I wake up at 4:45 this morning to work on my goals? Yes, but I also had 8 hours sleep, okay? So I did my strength training, I did my journaling, which we cover in Legacy Leaders Circle, my membership. Currently only $46, only $47 per month, that's it. Cancel any time, but we do journaling in there, we do healing, wealth creation, whether that's through your career or through your business or both, like me, as well as leadership for yourself, your family, and your service, your personal service in this world, okay? Doesn't have to be if you have a business, right? Many of my clients come in and they're focusing more on their career, that dream job, or just enjoying more balance in their work life. They also wanting to, yes, maybe take their personal brand to the next level for their private clinic, to really find other ways of serving and bringing in income and impact to serve themselves and their families and their service users, but maybe not necessarily serving their patients or clients one-to-one. Maybe it's one-to-group, maybe it's more virtual, maybe it's building up more different IP, intellectual property in different ways, using all their incredible wisdom and knowledge that they've accumulated over the years. So that's something I really wanted to do, and I'm grateful now I have clients all over the world, and I'm serving them. They're being served by me even when I'm sleeping or with my family or on holiday. Look, this stuff does take time to work. It doesn't take a long time, but what I mean is there is work involved. I'm not gonna lie. It's just like rental income from a house is not really passive income, right? Because at some point somebody first had to buy the house. You had to be in some sort of financial position, whether it's you or your ancestors or someone, however you got to attain the house in the first place, right? To pay to get the house, to buy it, and then at some point it becomes passive income, right? You have to tend to the house, you have to maintain it, you have to sometimes replace things. So think of it this way, play the long game, you know, don't be someone that takes shortcuts. Don't be someone that wants to get rich quick scheme, you know, focus on your divine life purpose. This stuff does not take a long time. My client in my business, I started my coaching business 38 weeks pregnant. My first client, £2,500 came literally 3 weeks later. Was there work involved? Yes. I was also pregnant, so I wasn't going to go, you know, burn the midnight oil and sort of go crazy. But yes, there was work involved. I loved that work. I felt like I was just being me. You can go back on my YouTube channel and watch those videos. I was doing really awful lighting. I set myself a challenge by my coach at that time and doing a 30-day video challenge on Facebook. It's all there on YouTube. You can have a look at it. Awful lighting. I'm sometimes doing videos at like 4 a.m. after doing a feed for my little baby. And it's like 2 minutes long. But it was more than the videos themselves. It was the embodiment within me. I was transforming within. It was a huge inner transformation, and I'm grateful I stuck at it, because now, 6 years later, wow, the outward expression of that in my health, my mental health, my physical health, in my loving relationships I'm surrounded by, in the way in which I work now, it's, gosh, it's you would need a telescope to see that. And I don't mean that with ego, but just those times that I really thought, like, really, like, how am I going to do this, right? So just believe in yourself, okay? And if you don't believe in yourself right now, borrow my belief, and I'm here to help you, okay? To heal, to earn, to lead, to replace your job salary, to build up additional incomes, multiple sources of service and income. I'm here to help you to do all of that. I'm doing it too, and I'm grateful to share everything that's helped me so far and what I'm doing right now, right? Come along with me, come alongside this journey. We can do it together. That's what we do inside Legacy Leader Circle, okay? Every single month I am there helping you. We have healing sessions, wealth creation, leadership. You get books. This month we just did Phoenix Rebirth. We're doing that right now, planning out the whole of 2026. And we're doing that for all the big rocks in our life. This is not just about business and income. This is our families. This is our health, and really building that out. And we do it alongside each other, okay? So I'm sending you so much love and light. Have a look at the link below, or send me the word leader and I'll send you the link if you want to learn more about this membership. It's only currently $47 per month. It used to be only $37 per month, and it will be going up in due course to $97 per month. So come and join in. The annual is $446 per year. That's it. And with that includes one-to-one session as well. So send you so much love and light. If you need the workbook for this session, let me know. If you want further resources, I'm here to help you. Love and light, and have a great day.